Hello, everyone. Liz Broaddus here. I am being joined today by Eric Wright, PhD, and he is a keynote speaker, best-selling author, founder of Vets2PM, and co-founder of Veteran Project Manager Mentor Alliance. That's a mouthful. So welcome, Eric. How are you today?
Hey, thanks for having me, Liz. I am, all things considered, I am fantastic.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate you taking the time out today. Tell us a little bit about yourself, how you ended up where you are today, just a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so dual service guy. I was Navy first during the Gulf War. I was post 9/11 immediately after the whole thing went down. Operation Noble Eagle. I was in the Army Guard and activated, federalized, and then spent numerous years wandering around trying to find myself after, hey, now you're not in the military anymore, you're a civilian, so what are you going to do when you grow up? So there were some dark times there, but it took about 12 years to figure it out. I landed in business, specifically I landed in project management. I learned to work and support executives. I learned to speak and think in time and money. I learned to think about the profit and loss statement. Am I growing revenue? Am I controlling expenses? Am I growing the bottom line? So I really kind of learned all the businessy stuff in about 3, 4, 5 years. I had some fantastic mentors. I parlayed that into a university career, finished a PhD. People in academia like that, so you get kind of all kinds of teaching jobs thrown at you. And then thought, hey, so I teach people how to do business. I wonder if I could pass the test to run a business. So started one, failed miserably, didn't know how to use LinkedIn. It went down in flames. Started 2 more and started a nonprofit. I learned how to use LinkedIn with all of those. They're all smashing successes. So when I speak, that's what I get asked to speak a lot about is, hey, Doc, how do you help us manage change? Or, hey, how do we grow our business? And specifically, how do we do that using LinkedIn? So those 2 topics keep me kind of busy. People have a lot of interest in that because it can help them out, their own personal brand and businesses.
Absolutely. And in going into that topic, obviously we are all currently going through a level of change that none of us have been through before, right? So being that there's so many leaders that are finding themselves in situations they've never been in before, specifically whether it be now leading a team that's working from home, so you're not in the same building, you can't have that face-to-face, in-person experience with your team. And also the other side of it is the those who are in retail and the essential businesses that are now overwhelmed. So what are some tips that you can give in either of those circumstances that can help someone to better engage with their employees and help their employees through this while they're learning how to get through this too?
So I'm glad you mentioned employees and helping employees, and when you do that in the context of leadership. So I'm going to give you a couple of my basic tenets of my philosophy, how I think about business, how I think about being a veteran, how I think about being a business owner, that kind of stuff. And the larger things that business owners think about, like the economy and the political environment and all that other stuff, right, that affects your business indirectly, right? So because it affects your consumers. And then I'll give you a couple of really tactical pointers that I've gleaned over the years of running virtual project teams. So the first thing is this, is, we like to argue on LinkedIn and other places about, hey, am I a leader? Am I a manager? Oh, I hate managers. I love leaders, yay, leaders. The reality is this, from an organizational perspective. So, we're talking to business leaders here. So from the perspective of you and your organization, managers, according to Henry Fayol way back in 1903, managers do 4 functions to run the organization. We plan and what we're going to do, create a new market, adapt to coronavirus, start a work from home policy, whatever. We plan that. We come up with the metrics for success. How do we know we're done? We then, function number 2, we go organize the resources to staff the plan, right? Human and others. Step number 3 is we lead the human resources in the consumption of the other resources to execute our plan to the standards we identified in the plan. And number 4 is we control the whole thing. We take corrective actions to keep plan and performance on target. Okay, so leaders are managers and managers are leaders. The real conversation is, are you good at the leadership function, Mr. or Mrs. Manager? That's really the conversation. And the reason that matters is, you know, you've heard the old maxim, right? People's perceptions is their reality. So most of the stuff that a manager does, the people never see you do. They don't see you make plans. They don't see you develop metrics. They don't see all the data that went into what are the metrics, why are the metrics, what articles are you reading to keep us, you know, ahead of the coronavirus impact on our economy and our business and whatever. They don't see all that behind the scenes stuff. They only see you standing in front of them doing leadership stuff. So if you say stuff like, hey, I got an open door policy, and they walk by your office 19 times in that one day, and the door's never open, you don't have an open door policy, because that's not what they see, right? If they say, if you say, hey, you know, this is all about you, then you walk around and talk to them at their desk and hold Zoom meetings with them. I mean, I've had 2 phone calls in a Zoom meeting already with some of my key employees. Like, hey, tell me about your day. How you doing? Is there anything you need from me? Like, and we do it Zoom. Now we're a virtually distributed company and have been since our inception. So this is how we do our weekly staff meetings. And I literally can knuckle bump the camera. I just can't high five you in person. So what we do is, you know, sometimes we'll have, so here's some tactics. Sometimes you have pizza running. So they sit on their camera and eat pizza, and you sit on your camera and eat pizza. And it's kind of like we're having lunch together. Now, is that artificial? Yeah, it is. But the feeling, you're feeling the feeling that we're all one team. And right now, that's kind of stuff, not only is it a good tactic for your team, but that stuff is critical. I mean, in our little town here, it's mandated. 7 o'clock at night, man, the whole place is shut down, nothing's open, you know, nobody, no groups bigger than 10 people, like they're locking us down, right? So it's critical that you keep the local taco shop employed, that you keep the local pizza joint delivering pizzas, because in my humble opinion, as a business owner operating in this economy, man, we've got to keep revenue flowing. If revenue stops, programs stop, taxes stop, testing stops. If the government can't function and take care of its citizens, right? That's one of the core functions of being a government. So we've got to keep the revenue on, so that small and mid-sized employers, the 30 million of us in the country, keep our people employed. I mean, I just read a thing, unemployment went up 1,000% last week. Like 20,000 accounts away. I don't even know how they measure, but what I'm saying is it was like just stunning, right? Like the system is literally being stress tested right before our eyes. So you got to keep your people employed, and you got to keep them employed because they got to help you adapt your processes, your teams, your systems, and your infrastructure to the new normal. I mean, there's going to be societal ripples from this thing for decades. We're talking about CEO employee pay disparity. We're talking about, hey, telework programs. We've been talking about it for 2 decades. And we've never done it because management thinks everybody has to be in the same room. Well, we've proven that we don't. My son is taking school right now. His teachers are on there. They're interacting on Zoom. They're doing school stuff. Like, it's, you know, the new normal is coming. And there's going to be ripple effects of that for, you know, decades.
Right. Well, and I want to kind of go back to a little bit to what you were talking about before in regards to, you know, the open door policy, which obviously right now looks different than it did before. Obviously, there's not a physical door, but it's still the same. It's still, like you talked about, you say you have an open door policy, but your door's always closed. Or in this circumstance, maybe you say you have an open door policy, but somebody calls you and you don't respond for an hour or a half hour or whatever. You know, there's things that we can do virtually that can also show that. And so leaders have to realize that the words that come out of your mouth mean very little. It's the actions that follow those words. Are you going to, okay, if you're on a conference call and somebody tries to call you, you send them a message and you say, sorry, I'm on a conference call. Can I call you when I get done? Or whatever the case is. you know, and also the other side of that is respecting their time, respecting the fact that you can't see that they might be on a call themselves, or they may be in the middle of, you know, like you said, children at home, they may be in the middle of helping a child with something or whatever, and you call them, they should be able to do the same. They should be able to message you and say, sorry, can I call you in a little bit? And if an email can be an email, let it be an email. You know, you don't have to follow it up with a phone call. You know, that email should stand for itself. So those are some other things that we need to also think of as leaders, respecting your employees, just like we want them to, or we try to allow them to respect us.
Yep. And you know, Liz, you actually are invoking human psychology here. So, hey, what's a thing a leader can do to like walk the talk when I literally can't walk that hallway in front of my employees? Right. So here's some things. So communications blocking and tackling, communications essentials or hygiene or whatever you want to call it, has always been important. It's the only way I run 2 companies and a nonprofit. Right? There's only one of me, and I already only sleep like 4 hours at night. So you have to be effective in how you communicate. But one of the things that a leader can do, especially in a time like this, is that communication piece and that demonstrating the leadership. So for example, I've always been an email me or text me kind of guy. I have pre-programmed replies so that if you're calling me and I'm on a Zoom call with somebody else, I can reply with a detailed with a detailed reply. On a webinar, I'll call you in 1 hour or whatever. My team knows if you need me and it's time sensitive, you text me. If I'm sitting at a gate waiting for an airplane, or I'm sitting waiting to go on stage somewhere in a keynote, or I'm signing books or whatever, and you text me because it's time sensitive, I'll reply with, hey, give me 15 minutes. That's one of my replies. Give me 15 minutes, I'll call you right back, right? So you know I saw it and I heard it. If it's not time sensitive, just shoot me an email. I'll get back to you before the end of the business day. So Eric, who cares, dude? I do that stuff anyway. Well, but in these times of tribulation, in this time of duress, they want certainty about anything that you can give them. So it's just, you can't assume, here's the psychology, you can't assume that they know how to contact you. Mm-hmm. So comfort them a little bit. So I've already told my team, hey, instead of a phone call, I will Zoom with you if I have the bandwidth. All you have to do is text me, tell me you need me on a Zoom, let's get on a Zoom, so that we can maintain this personal connection, so that you don't feel isolated, so that you don't feel completely uncertain about, oh my God, is everything we know grinding to a halt? No, there's still birds and stuff flying around outside my window. It's still sunshiny and beautiful, right? Like, this too shall pass. So I've just made all of my employees and my vendors and people understand that, hey, I'm here for you. If it's time sensitive, text me. If you need to see me, tell me. I'll set up a Zoom call. If not, let's do it on an email. So now they have some certainty, at least about, hey, how do I contact Eric? What can I expect? Is business still going or not going? Just little things like that the leader can do shows the people like, they're thinking about me, right? Like, I'm so glad they addressed that because I didn't know how to call them. Like, they don't want to call the CEO. They don't want to call the COO. They don't want to call the comptroller. Those are important people under normal times, right? You better let your folks know you're accessible because they're freaking out, man. Because I'll tell you what, I'm the guy driving the ship and I'm freaking out. Like, I've already had a dozen calls this week with other CEOs. Like, hey man, how are you keeping the revenue faucet on? Hey man, how are you keeping your employees paid? Like, hey man, can I help you? Can you help me? Like, hey, if you need any project managers, dude, I'll give them to you at cost right now. You need help adapting your systems? I'll give them to you at cost. Let's just, how do we help each other, right? So that we can get through this thing. Anyway.
Absolutely, and another part of that is also not just responding appropriately when somebody else reaches out to you, but another part is don't wait for them to reach out to you. If it's been 24 hours since you've heard from this team member, you reach out to them because you don't know what they're going through. You don't know that they, because again, You're not in the same building. You can't see them. You can't see the sadness in their face or whatever the case is. Or, you know, at the very least, if they are okay, wonderful. Then they still know that you care about whether or not they're okay. And that's important no matter what team you're leading, no matter what industry you're in. Everybody wants to know that you care if they are okay.
Yeah. And, you know, and so I hear all the leaders in the audience go, wow, man, this is, you know, my workload is like skyrocketing right now. But just, you use the basic block X's and O's, your basic blocking and tackling out of your business playbook. You just got to scale it now. You just got to adapt it. So, for example, you know, if somebody's listening to us and they're going, oh my God, I got to contact all 719 of my employees. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I'll let your discretion guide you. But my point is, reach out to your executive team. You know, your 6 or 8 key people. Reach out to them and say, hey, let's do a Zoom call. Maybe you reach out to their deputies with a phone call. And then maybe you just ensure the message is, hey, gang, it's got to be consistency. We've got to try and promote as much certainty as we can. At least inside this company, this is how we're going to handle this. This is how we're going to do business. We're all here for each other, right? And promote that consistency and that as much certainty as you can. And then those people, and say, hey, so reach out to your key people. Reach out to, so that all 719 people in the company do get a phone call this week from somebody in some kind of leadership position demonstrating leadership. Hey, there's no company without the customers. We've got to keep selling goods and services to take care of the customers, but I got to take care of the company so that we can keep that revenue faucet on, so we can keep us all paid, so we can get through this thing, right? Nobody wants to be on the unemployment line. I mean, so if everybody in the company gets a call from a leader, that's leadership being demonstrated. That's walking around without being able to walk around. In the Navy, we would call that deck plate leadership. Do your folks know you're out? Do they know you're available? Do they know they can access you?
Absolutely. And then also, maybe there are those leaders that are going to have, you know, unfortunately, they're going to have people that are going to be on that unemployment line. And there's really not a lot you can do about that right now. My thought is we also need to care for them, the people that maybe you do have to lay off or you do have to cut hours. And because we are going to come back from this, we have to. I mean, we always do. Something happens, we always bounce back. But and you have to have that mentality or you're not going to bounce back. And so you have to think of, okay, what about 2 weeks from now, 2 months from now, 3 months from now? How are we going to fill those slots? We need to bring those people back that we know are able to do that job and that we appreciated before we had to do that, right?
Yeah, and I think, you know, so this whole event is stress testing our systems like down to its very DNA. So for example, so now your mission statement on the wall, now your values hanging on the conference group. You're gonna find out really quick whether those are platitudes or not. For example, Vets2PM, everything we do is with integrity, commitment, and excellence. Everything we do. So, you know, good. God forbid I got to have a call with an employee, right? Would break my heart, and I've already, you know, cut my salary. Like I'm doing all the stuff, right? All the emergency stopgap measures. But if I gotta have a conversation with an employee, I was reading on LinkedIn today, somebody sent somebody an email to let them know. Come on, man. Demonstrate leadership. Do the hard thing, even, you know, do the right thing, even if it's the hardest thing. At least call. At least Zoom call. Like, hey, look, as you know, the plant in Yorktown, Ohio, we had to shut it down. There's no goods and services, there's no demand like that. Our consumer market is locked in their houses. So we've got to take a cost cut measure, right? We're going to circle the wagons. You know, here's X severance pay. Here's when we think we're going to try to bring it back. Like, here's our plan for how we're going to try to get through this. Now, the result of that call still is catastrophic. It still sucks, right? But you at least had the courage to do it by voice, by video. Like, so just because it's a catastrophe and everybody's losing their mind right now, a leader, a manager that's good at the leadership function now's your time to demonstrate whether you get it or not. Now's the time to do it the right way. And that employee that's receiving that call, I mean, I've been let go. I know what that feels like. But at least that person had the courage and the respect for me as a human being and as an adult and as a professional to, to have a human heart-to-heart conversation with me about it, right? And be completely transparent, and you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Great point.
So let's kind of move into excuse me, what your specialty is, what your organization is about, and that's veterans. So excuse me, I was looking into some different statistics, and excuse me, I'm sorry. According to marketplace.org, they 44% of veterans that take their first place of employment after leaving the military leave that job within a year.
Yep.
The unemployment rate amongst veterans is significantly higher than those of the overall population. So the overall population not long ago was 2 or 3%. With veterans would have been 6 to 9%. Why do you think that is? Why is it so hard for veterans to find gainful employment? And I say gainful employment. Yes, anybody can go to a fast food joint or a grocery store and get a job, right? But they, just like anybody else, they need a position where they can, support their families. So why do you think that is?
Well, okay, so this is a big, huge, complex societal problem. I didn't feel like it was being taken care of, so I started a company now, right? So that's my belief, right or wrong, good or indifferent. There's lots of factors, but here's one of the biggest. We say things, veterans, we say things like, oh, I'm just a data analyst. When really, no, I secure the command's entire network. I literally can go be somebody's cybersecurity defense department and take care of the entire company, right? Or me, I'm just a welder. Yeah, but if you weld on nuclear submarines, you don't think I know how to bring value through project delivery and talk in terms of time, money, schedule, personnel assignments, like what? I learned all kinds of stuff about running projects and programs successfully. I was worth $95,000, $105,000 in the civilian marketplace. But when I talk like a welder or just a leader, like, hey, I'm going to lead this and lead that, what the civilian just heard is, oh, great, another leader in this place, like telling us what to do and not doing anything, or whatever they think, right? So that's part of it, is there's a big, huge missing translation piece, right? The veteran doesn't have the context of how to talk about a profit and loss statement, or how, this project controls or grows revenue, this one controls expenses, this one increases the bottom line. Like, we can't talk in basic business terms. We don't talk and think in terms of time and money. So therefore, the people that are listening to us and interviewing us have no idea what value we're going to bring in, because we're not talking in terms of value, time, money, effort. Like, here's what I'm going to do for you, make you successful. Also, there's a large contingent of other veterans who tell us things like, hey, you just got to suck it up and take an entry-level job. Hey, you just got to suck it up and take a pay cut. You got to retire and check anyway. Hey, you just got to whatever. I'm living proof. You don't have to do anything. The hiring math is simple. If you want a $95,000 salary, all you got to do is show me greater than $95,000 worth of value, period. If you do that, I'll hire you all day long and twice on Sunday, period. So the reality is, you've got to think about, what did you like doing in the service? What did you not like doing? Make a list. In between the likes and don't likes is stuff you could probably find in job descriptions. Once you identify those kinds of jobs, identify employers, connect with the people who work at those places on LinkedIn, and find out what questions they're going to ask you in an interview. Find out if they really live their values. Find out if they really take care of their employees and their customers. You can use LinkedIn to literally mine intelligence on a company that you're going to go work for, and you know how to talk like them and what to talk about that's important to them, right? So that's part of the problem, is the translating on both sides of the coin. And the other thing too is, a lot of vets think, because of our integrity, because of our commitment to an organization larger than ourselves, because of our we write a blank check to the American people. Hey man, I will defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, up to and including with my life, right? And then I get out and I get a job where I don't have to bring that kind of commitment. You kind of walk around like, wow, man, I'm up here, I only have to operate down here. Like, I don't know how to do that, right? And so it's really kind of a disconnect. So when we get into a career and we think, oh, so we've got to find the first thing we do out of uniform is going to be the last thing we do out of uniform. So we just put all these crazy expectations on ourselves. That's not the reality. Get out of uniform, find something that gives you the paycheck you need, a bit of purpose, you can figure out what the new you looks like, and creates a little space in your head, a little space in your bank account, so that you can figure out what you want to be when you grow up in this second career. So don't put all that pressure on yourself to find the one job and run out of money in the meantime, or take some entry-level job because somebody told you to. You just need to reflect on who are you, what value do you bring, what do you love to do for your organization, then tell the civilian organization exactly what you're going to do for them. I'm not saying that's easy. That takes work. That takes lots of self-reflection. It is simple though, right? It is a simple solution. It's just not easy. You have to think about all this stuff, and then you have to quantify it in terms of, hey, you're paying $95,000. Here's how I'm going to bring $120,000 in value.
Absolutely. Well, and then also the other side of that is the employers that are not looking at the veterans as them being able to understand that there is value in their experience, even though it isn't exactly what they may be doing in that role. There's certain things that you can train. You can teach somebody how to run a register. You can teach somebody, how to stock a shelf. Can you teach them integrity? Can you teach them respect? Can you teach them how to talk to a person, and regardless of what their socioeconomic status might be, as in customers, or whatever aspect. So there are unfortunately there's circumstances where the employer just has to give people a chance, and the employee also, or the veteran or whoever, also needs to maybe go into something that maybe they haven't done before. If somebody gives them the opportunity to do that, go into it. It may be uncharted territory, but somebody gave you that chance to say, hey, I think you can do this. Let's do it. So maybe try things that you might have not thought about before, felt comfortable with before, and maybe that's not the right place for you, but you can still learn from that, even if it is something that you've never done before. So.
And Liz, you make a couple really salient points. The first point is, hey man, this is just not employers and veterans. This is anybody who wants a meaningful, lucrative, purposeful career, right? Which is almost everybody I've ever worked with and for. I mean, this is not unique to veterans. We all want to go to a place where we feel respected and admired and trusted and well paid and treated like an adult professional. I mean, so this is not unique. So the stuff that I talk about applies to I've spent 20 plus years in the civilian workforce as well as 8 years in the military workforce. So the stuff that I've learned from interacting with people and what makes them tick and stuff, it applies to anybody working, collaborating, co-laboring with each other as human beings trying to get something done. The second thing too is for those companies, when you see veteran, just because I'm a veteran does not mean that I carried a sidearm, stood watch, and that's all I've done. So I'm either a great security guard or I'm busted up because I must have shot somebody and I must have PTSD and be a broken individual. 1 in every 100 people in uniform is the trigger puller. The other 99 are the support folks. So let's take me for an example. I'm a welder. I can weld on nuclear submarines. If that's all you see, employer, you just lost out on a guy who knows how to assemble small teams of individuals, turn it into a high-performing team of individuals to overachieve objectives, motivate them, give them purpose, sense, and direction, right? To bring your expectations to reality, to increase your bottom line. by either growing revenue or controlling the expenses. All you got to do is teach me what a profit and loss statement is, teach me how you keep score, and I'll still play the game the way I play the game. I'm going to use high-performing teams, durable processes that are repeatable to produce profitability and productivity for you and your team. If all you saw was a welder or a busted individual because I know how to carry a sidearm and shoot a shotgun, guess what? We both just lost in that deal, right?
Absolutely. Oh. Well, and I think that employee and employer kind of do need to be more open-minded, because I mean, there are entry-level positions out there that start out at $13, $14, $15 an hour, which right now, especially right now, that's not nothing to sneeze at. I mean, you can you know, you can make a reasonable living at that wage. Yes, it's not the ideal for some people, but you can go into that position and you can show that you have more capabilities than what that position offers. And there's so many companies that, okay, that's kind of what they do. They bring in entry-level people, they pay them a good wage, they give them the opportunity to shine. And especially in time right now, leaders are emerging everywhere, and they're showing that they are capable of leading in hard times, and leaders need to see that as well. So that's two parts of it. You need to give yourself a chance to show that you're worthy of more, and the employers need to open their eyes and see those leaders that are emerging right now, and give them the opportunity to advance their careers when we get done with whatever this is going to, you know, when we get to the point, whatever this is going to look like a month, 2 months, even a year or two from now. Remember now when your employees are showing their leadership abilities, or even the workhorses, even the ones that are, you know, are just going to suck it up and do the job regardless of how hard it is. You know, we need to look at this circumstance where we're at right now, and take advantage of what we're seeing. So on both sides of it.
And you know, as you make that point, was all I, you know, what I heard you saying was, hey, now is not the time to panic. Mm-hmm. Yes, it is a crazy situation. Yes, it's an unprecedented black swan event. Now, in terms of the globe, this stuff happens every 100, 150 years. It's always been that way. It's always going to continue to be that way, regardless of how smart and scientific and invulnerable we think we've become. Mm-hmm. We're still critters on this planet, subject to the environment and everything else, right?
Right.
But make decisions in a mindful, deliberate manner, mm-hmm. based on the current information you have, whether it's got gaps and holes or not, and then just make a different decision if your information changes later. We're not politicians here. You can get more data and make a new decision and not have to explain your voting record. And that's not a dig at politicians. What I'm saying is even they, I think, as a population, would be, you know, far more successful if they worried about making the right decision at the right time for their constituencies. And I'm not saying they do or they don't or whatever. I'm just saying we're human beings. We're fallible. Mm-hmm. I made a decision at the time based on the information I had to achieve this right thing, in line with my values. Stuff changed. I made a different decision. So, you know, promotions, hiring, furloughing, all that stuff right now, it's survival mode. Take care of each other. Be observant, mm-hmm. right? Make deliberate, mindful decisions. Be in the present, mm-hmm. and we'll figure it all out later when we got time and the dust is settled and we can figure it out. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And when making those decisions, now especially, but even once we get through this, even a year or two from now, 6 months from now, whatever that looks like, not enough leaders listen to what their employees are saying, or even ask their employees, okay, what's going on? Like, how can I make this easier for you? How can I help you to be able to do your job better? Instead of, oh, well, this person doesn't, you know, work well from home, so we're just gonna, you know, cut their hours, or whatever decisions need to be made in the leadership side. You have to communicate with your employees and find out, okay, if what's going to make their jobs easier. So maybe this person over here needs to be contacted daily and needs to be, or hourly or whatever, just to have that motivation to do what they've always known how to do in the office. But then this person over here might be like, okay, you keep bugging me every day, I don't need that, so and it goes, and it would be the same thing 6 months from now, when or if you choose to go back to the office setting and not the work from home setting. Continue to communicate with your employees, because not everyone needs the same things to do their job well.
Yeah.
So, and everybody has different talents. So leaders need to learn how to, and some are good, like you've talked about before, some do well at certain things and some don't, just like, their employees do. So maybe make sure that the right person is in the right part of their jobs, and allow them to shine in their own unique ways. So I think a lot of people have a hard time doing that, and even consciously like seeing that. So
and it's, well, so the military tenet there is know your people, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You should know what they're, you should know if they have a son or a daughter. You should know what their birthdays are. You should know what their anniversaries are. You should
Absolutely.
know their spouse's name. Now, I'm not saying to violate HR rules, regulations, laws, and procedures and go document everything you get off. I'm not saying be intrusive. I'm saying just know your people. Are you a time off kind of gal, or would you rather have a cash bonus in your paycheck? Like just basic stuff. And, so just so you know, I'm on both sides of the fence here. I've been an employee for a long time. I'm also now a business owner. I'm also, running a nonprofit, like whatever. I mean, the board's doing all the hard work at the nonprofit, by the way. Although I can't take any credit, but what my point is that, it's really easy to say us, them, management, employee, leadership, management, employee, like whatever. Collaboration, co-laboring is the foundation of collaboration. Mm-hmm. Etymology, like the words, okay? So my point there is we're all working towards this thing together. We all are making a livelihood from this thing together. Mm-hmm. So when you say make the employee's job easier, the employees that hear that need to not just remember that, oh, it's just about me, because it's not just about you and whether your job is easy, because it's probably not ever gonna be, because they call it work. Mm-hmm. So I love what I do for a living. I founded a company that is a manifestation of me. This is what I do and talk about when I'm not at work, right? Right. I still got to get up and shave, and get dressed and get on the Zoom calls. And I've been at it since 06 this morning. My calendar is stacked until 5 o'clock this afternoon. Zoom calls, meetings, phone calls, random emergency phone calls from employees and or vendors or whatever. I mean, it's crazy town right now. So I'm just suggesting that, again, mindful, deliberate, right? We're all in this together. So whether you're a manager or an employee or a leader or a vendor or whatever you are, save the labels for later. Right now, how are we taking care of each other? We're one big, huge tribe. And when this all settles down, so it's not necessarily make it easier, but hey, my job as the manager is to set up the processes and the infrastructure and the systems that you employee need to take care of our customers so that they buy more of our goods and services, so that we get raises and the company lives on and all of that stuff. We're all in it together, right? So the book, The Great Game of Business, I would highly recommend anybody read it that can. It's a great book, and it's about the blocking and tackling. Look at the balance sheet, look at the profit and loss statement. I share that stuff with my employees. And they love it. They're like, you know what, man, I've been working for 30 years. Nobody's ever trusted me enough to show me that stuff. Well, first of all, I do trust you. I don't think you're going to go talk about it to everybody in the world. And secondly, if we're in this together, you ought to know what being in this means. How are we keeping score? What's important? What's not important? You can spend money, but it's your money. It's taken away from your profitability, right? If you want to go on a trip for $5,000, or we can do the conference virtually and save $4,500. You make the call, but you know what you're doing to our profit and loss statement and our balance sheet, and that affects both your short-term income, i.e., performance bonuses and your long-term wealth building in terms of like stock options and stuff. So, you know, I think the more we can realize and create an environment where we all buy into the lived values, the lived mission, and we literally just understand that everybody's got a different role, just like in the military. Trigger puller, right, with facing the bad guy and everybody in support, right? We're all doing this together. So it's not my responsibility is not to make your job easier. Your responsibility is not to, you know, just take care of my customer. My responsibility, we all have a responsibility to the organization to keep it profitable so we don't got paychecks.
Right.
Like everything else becomes secondary after that basic economic function, right? So one of the things I like to do as a leader, as a manager who leads well, is I continuously talk about everybody and their roles and their contribution to the profit and the loss and the balance sheet and the customer. I talk to my customers about my employees. I talk to my employees about the customers. I talk to the customers about the business people and the business people about the customers. I mean, I just did a keynote for a couple hundred business owners yesterday. A live webinar like this. They took time out of their day to watch about, hey, how do you use LinkedIn to grow your business? Especially now, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, you know, and I talked about the customers. I talked about the responsibility of the customers and whatever. So again, collaboration. We're all in this together. We all need to make a living, to pay our bills, to feed ourselves, to send our kids to college, to buy cars, whatever it is you need to do, right? You trade your time, your expertise, or pay. How do you get it done in a manner that takes care of all of us? It's a, you know, Seth Godin, it's a tribe. I think of my company as a tribe.
Originally, the reason that I wanted to speak with you is in regards to the, you know, what we talked about before as far as, you know, veterans and their, the unemployment rate and things like that. So, before we finish up, I wanted to kind of go back to that a little bit, because I think that's going to be part of this. Obviously, I feel like all of this is going to be relevant even 6 months to a year from now. But I think that's important, an important part of our population that we need to, that people need to start recruiting from, actively recruiting from. So that being said, what are some things within our communities and within our society that can benefit from us actively recruiting from that population?
Well, again, Liz, it's all about being deliberate and being mindful. So not only are veterans hiring, but military spouse hiring is high too. And it always has been. I've been banging that drum for 5 years, but now it's a popular topic, so everybody's banging their drum, which is cool. I'm glad it's finally getting some drum banging. It's needed it for years.
Right.
But here's what it means tactically. If you're on the other side of the desk, reading the resume, I know you got 60 of them to read for one position you have open. I know, I've been there. I'm there monthly, I got it, I know how it feels. But you gotta be mindful and deliberate about that, because you don't wanna miss the valuable employee. Think of it as Einstein's compounding interest of money. Think of it as time spent to build good teams with good people. Guess what? You get your bandwidth later when they're resilient and autonomous and they're making their own decisions and they're solving their own problems, and you just got bandwidth. So you literally are making an investment of your time to get a great team member, or a team member that can grow into an awesome team member if you put them in the right team later. So these are investments. They're not taskers that are taking up my time. These are investments, right? So for example, I look at a military spouse resume. I see that she moves or he moves around, you know, every 2 years. Doesn't mean they're a bad employee. It doesn't mean I should discount them. It means I should read the rest of that resume and say, okay, if this is the position I'm hiring for, this is the kind of value return I need out of this employee that I'm potentially searching for. Do I think the person in this resume, based on past skills, performance, capabilities, whatever, can either provide it to me or be developed into the person that can, right? Right. That takes an extra 9 seconds. That takes an extra bit of brain power. I mean, literally, when our brains think about things, we literally burn calories. So yes, I'm putting you on a treadmill to find the right person for your team. But don't discount somebody because they got gaps in their employment or because they move every 2 years if you know that person is a military spouse, because you may just miss a great team member. The disruption you see in their chronology may be nothing more than my spouse chose to serve, therefore I'm secondarily serving, I'm moving because of that commitment. All it needs is fair shit. And it also means, by the way, yeah, I might be leaving again in 2 or 3 years. So the manager needs to make sure that the employee that gets hired starts training and mentoring their replacement now. Management's responsible for setting up a system and an environment where we promote that kind of environment, that kind of ecosystem. It makes the employee responsibility and bought in to do their job well, to document what they do, and to share it with their replacement. It makes them responsible, accountable, which, oh, by the way, increases their buy-in, and it makes the manager more effective for the organization because I'm constantly growing the team and I'm building resiliency into the organization's workforce. That's a pretty strong competitive advantage for most companies that are struggling with churn and turnover and whatever. You see what I'm saying? Again, it's both people playing their roles and maximizing the synergy, right?
Right. Awesome. Thank you for that. Excuse me. Is there anything else that you would like to add to the conversation of any topics that we've talked about today?
The only thing I would say kind of as my parting thought is one of the things that veteran population doesn't do well is ask for help. When we're given a mission, we're highly trained, we're highly capable, we're drilled. We don't practice to keep from getting something wrong. We practice until we don't do things wrong, right? It's a huge difference, right? We practice to succeed every time, right? So we don't ask for help very well as a population. We're independent, we're resilient, we're resourceful, we depend on ourselves, on our people on our left, right, our spouses. So that's a two-way street. So veterans, when you get a job in the civilian workforce, in the civ div, you need to ask for help. I've been told by CEOs and HR directors and everybody, hey man, we've got an accounting department, we've got a payroll department, we've got an HR department, we've got a finance department, we've got an operations management department. Don't break something and then we have to go clean it up and spend time, effort, and money to go clean it up. If you got a project and you don't know how to spell cost accounting, call somebody in accounting and say, hey, I'm brand new, I don't know how to do cost accounting in this place. Can I take you to lunch for 30 or 40 minutes and figure out how to do the basic blocking and tackling so you don't have to clean it up later? Veterans, ask for help. Employers, create an ecosystem where you encourage employees to ask for help. If I come to you and I ask you for help, it doesn't mean I'm lousing up performance and I need to be fired or put on a performance improvement plan. It means that we're all here to take care of the customer, to grow our bottom line, our P&L, so that we all stay employed and get raises and enjoy successful outputs of our work. If that's the objective, if that's really what we're doing here, then, hey man, when I come to you and ask you for help, if you take the time to help me now, you increase my stock price to the company. I take up less of your bandwidth later. We're back to that human compound interest, right? Manager, time sink, help the employee that asks for help, teach them how to do it, show them how to do it once, let them do it once under your tutelage, and then turn them loose and have them go teach one other person. That's how we do it in the military. Teach one up, teach one down, teach one left, one right. That means I'm building resiliency into my workforce, okay? So one thing that I could leave for both the civ div and the veteran is ask for help, support the request for help when you get it.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for that. And Eric, thank you so much for joining me today. I really, really appreciate you taking as much time out as you have. I've really enjoyed our conversation. And I really think that a lot of people can learn a lot of great things from you. So everybody, please like, share, subscribe, comment. If there's anybody that, if you or anyone that you know might be interested in having a conversation with me in regards to any topics that you might find relevant to leaders or companies in general, please reach out to me. My email address is liz@thepeople-person.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn at by searching for Elizabeth Broaddus MBA. Also, please follow Eric. He has a lot of great content on LinkedIn and a lot of great advice and information to share. So I really appreciate your time again, Eric. Thank you so much. And thank you all very much for watching. Have a great day.
Thanks, Liz.
Thank you.